तो सिनेमैटिक एडवांटेज लिए बिना कोई फिल्म नहीं बना था।
किस हद तक सिनेमैटिक लिबर्टी ली जा सकती है और एक फिल्म में कोई ऐसा है कि 5 या 6 सिनेमैटिक लिबर्टीज आर इनफ?
जब तक लोगों को नहीं लग जा रहा क्या यार, जब तक कि लोगों को लगता है कि कुछ भी दिखा रहे हो तब तक ले सकते।
When you think of good sequels, especially in the case of trilogies, what comes to mind? The Dark Knight, Star Wars original trilogy, The Lord of the Rings.
I am your father.
Whether you are a fan of these movies or remember them as just movies, one thing that makes them special is how the second part bridges the first and final movies.
You have nothing to threaten me with.
They brilliantly set up the conflict coming in from the first movie and leave space for the ultimate showdown in the final part, similar to a 3-act screenplay structure, a beginning, middle and end. This is why making the second part of a trilogy is hard. Filmmakers often fall into the trap of chasing spectacle over substance, piling on visual flair while neglecting what truly matters: character development, emotional stakes and story depth. The result? Underwhelming narratives that feel bloated, disconnected or worse, like glorified trailers for the next film. So when a film like L2 Empuraan steps into that space, expectations aren't just high, they are unforgiving. And that brings us to the question, does Empuraan rise to that challenge or does it fall into the all too familiar sequel trap? Let's find out in this spoiler-free movie review, where we will talk about what worked, what could have been better and what's coming next.
And here we go.
After 6 years of wait, endless fan theories and a cinematic universe quietly brewing in the background, the sequel to the 2019 blockbuster Lucifer is finally here.
God of the wall.
Ab'raam. Khureshi Ab'raam.
Empuraan has landed in theaters and they are packed. Directed once again by Prithviraj Sukumaran and led by the ever-commanding Mohanlal, the film dives deeper into the mythos of Khureshi Ab'raam with more scale, ambition and cinematic weight than its predecessor. What Empuraan does best is build its world, expanding far beyond the political corridors of Kerala and into a global underworld of power, ideology and legacy. The stakes are higher, the world wider and the tone far more intense. And it's clear that this is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. But while the film swings big, not every punch lands perfectly. Yet it rewards patience and fans will find plenty to dig into. But before we break it all down, let's do a quick recap of the first part, Lucifer. The sudden demise of Chief Minister of Kerala, P.K. Ramdas, PKR, triggers a fierce power struggle within the ruling party, the Indian Union Front, IUF. Amidst the chaos, several contenders emerge, including PKR's children, Priyadarshini, played by Manju Warrior, and Jatin Ramdas, played by Tobino Thomas, and the enigmatic Stephen Nedumpalli, portrayed by Mohanlal. Stephen, a close confidant of PKR, is a man shrouded in mystery, known for his international connections and formidable influence. As alliances shift and hidden agendas surface, the narrative delves into the murky intersections of politics, crime and personal ambition. Stephen ensures IUF remains in the hands of Jatin and leaves Kerala, hoping never to come back. At the end of Lucifer, it is revealed that Stephen is this enigmatic, mysterious figure who goes by the name of Khureshi Ab'raam.
Ab'raam. Khureshi Ab'raam.
The film was a massive blockbuster, earning over 150 crores at the box office and was always set out to be made into 3 films, each building onto the story from its predecessor. With that recap of Lucifer, let's first start with what worked for its sequel, Empuraan. Cinematic scale. From the very first frame, Empuraan makes its scale felt. It's big, bold and confidently mounted. While the actual budget was never disclosed, it's clear the film spared no expense in its visual execution. Multiple countries, exotic locations, stylized sequences. All of it comes together to deliver Malayalam cinema's most ambitious production yet. The camera doesn't just capture scenes, it elevates them. Every frame is treated with a sense of depth and drama. The cinematography amplifies the grandeur without distracting from the narrative. Acting performances. Mohanlal delivers a masterclass in restrained intensity. His presence as Khureshi Ab'raam speaks volumes even in silence. Prithviraj, as both actor and director, pulls off a delicate balance between style and substance. The supporting cast adds texture, keeping the narrative grounded, while the world around it expands. Mass appeal. Despite being layered and lore-heavy, the film doesn't alienate. It delivers moments for fans to cheer, speculate and rewatch. Punchy one-liners.
This deal is with the devil.
Larger-than-life moments and emotional callbacks make it engaging for both first-timers and die-hard fans. The action is gritty, stylized and narratively meaningful. Whether it's an intense shootout or a brutal hand-to-hand brawl, the choreography feels organic, not flashy for the sake of it, but driven by character and stakes. Use of symbolism. Without giving anything away, Empuraan is layered with visual and thematic symbolism. These elements enrich the story for viewers who enjoy reading between the lines, and it's clear that Prithviraj has infused the film with subtext that elevates the cinematic experience without spelling everything out.
जब भगवान का बेटा ही गलत करे, बस शैतान को तो सही करने आना ही पड़ता है.
While there were many positives to take away from Empuraan, there were some which could have been better. Storytelling lacks emotional depth. While Empuraan nails its scale and visual storytelling, the emotional core feels undercooked. The story moves with purpose, but rarely with feeling. The script favors spectacle and world building over emotional nuance, which makes it harder to invest in the characters' journeys fully. You watch in awe, but not always with your heart. Underdeveloped characters. Some key players are underutilized. Manju Warrior, who had a solid presence in Lucifer, feels sidelined here. Tovino Thomas, though impactful, doesn't get enough screen time or depth to truly shine. Abhimanyu Singh as a ruthless villain Bajrangi Bhai starts with promise. His performance even echoes the badness of Bukka Reddy from Rakta Charitra, but lacks the screen time to become a truly memorable antagonist. It's not about the performances, it's about the space the story gives them, and unfortunately that space feels limited. Slow pacing and runtime issues. The film takes its time and sometimes too much. Certain sequences, especially Mohanlal's repeated entry moments across different locations, start to feel redundant. While they are crafted with style, they lose impact with repetition, slowing the overall momentum. Editing choices and predictability. The editing leans too heavily on slow motion shots, which while visually stylish, dilute urgency and tension. Even more noticeable is the background score. At times it gives away upcoming moments, removing the element of surprise. A bit more restraint could have made the twist hit harder. Overuse of cinematic advantages. Now let's talk about something called cinematic advantage, a tool often used in filmmaking where the audience is given a perspective that the characters aren't privy to. It creates tension, suspense, or dramatic irony. But in Empuraan, it's overused. Instead of being on the edge of your seat wondering what's next, you're often waiting for the characters to catch up to what you already know. This brings us to what's next that awaits in the final chapter. Lucifer stayed rooted in Kerala, its politics, its people, its power shifts. With Empuraan, the story expanded outward, exploring the rise of Khureshi Ab'raam across borders, diving into international dealings and global stakes, only to return home where it all began. Now, as the stage sets for the final part in this trilogy, it's clear the next chapter will go full throttle into the global arena. We're also likely to finally uncover the emotional and psychological origin of the man behind the mask, who he was, what he became, and why. The pieces are now in place. What comes next won't just wrap up a trilogy, it could redefine the identity of Malayalam cinema in the global narrative. So does Empuraan rise to the challenge or fall into the all too familiar sequel trap? The answer lies somewhere in between. Empuraan is undeniably ambitious, it expands its universe, elevates its visuals, and plants the seeds for something much larger. But in doing so, it sometimes sacrifices emotional depth and character nuance for scale and spectacle. It's a film that demands your attention and rewards it, but doesn't always earn your heart. Yet, as a middle chapter, it does what many sequels fail to do. It builds anticipation for the endgame and makes you want more. If Lucifer were the foundation and Empuraan were the bridge, then what would come next could be Mollywood's cinematic summit. If you enjoyed this spoiler-free review of Empuraan, hit that like button, share it with your fellow movie lovers, and subscribe to stay updated on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.